Pro-lifers, if your conversations about abortion feel frustrating, you might be making this mistake. The pro-choice person says, it's not a baby, it's a fetus. And you respond by saying, actually, life begins at conception. Open up a biology textbook. Pro-choice person says, my body, my choice. And you respond by saying, it's actually not your body, it's the baby's body. Give a whole litany of pro-life responses and pro-choice responses to those, and it would go on and on and on. But at the end of the day, both parties are gonna walk away feeling frustrated from that conversation. That's because nobody wants to be on the receiving end of a bunch of facts just being spouted at them. Nobody wants to hear, well, actually, in response to everything they say. Maybe you've been on the receiving end of this before. Like, you've shared what you think about an issue and the person just keeps on rejecting everything that you're saying. And at the end of it, you just don't feel like they even want to hear you out at all. Well, I propose that rather than just making statements, you start by asking questions. Clarification questions, things like, what do you mean by that? Why do you believe that? So what and why? How did you come to that conclusion? Pro-choice person says, it's not a baby, it's a fetus. You start by asking them a question. What do you mean by that? When you say that it's not a baby or that it's not human, do you mean that it's literally like not biologically human, or do you mean something different than that? Help me understand. Pro-choice person says it's not a baby, it's a parasite. You could give a whole lecture about how that's not scientifically accurate, how that's dehumanizing language, but what if you start instead by asking a clarification question? When you say that it's a parasite, do you mean it's a literal biological parasite like one in the water? Or do you mean that it has a parasitic relationship with the mom? Or do you mean something else entirely? You should not assume what someone means by her terms. You should actually assume you don't know and ask questions to find out. Then you can respond to what she actually does mean and believe, and the conversation will move forward in a much more productive direction.